So, my name is Immani Love, and today I am interviewing the editor-in-chief and founder of Blaque magazine for my interview today, Tamara Leigh. Everybody's And if it's okay with you, I just want to jump right into the interview
Let's
process. Okay. So my first question for you is, what inspired Blaque magazine's creation?
So, in my last life, the last chapter of my life, I was born and raised in Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York, and my work there was in activism and advocacy, and I was the director of an agency that shuttered during the pandemic. And part of my work there was to be the editor of the magazine that the agency produced, which was, at the time, The Empty Closet was the longest continuously published LGBTQ magazine in the nation. And it was a whole new undertaking. I had always been a writer, but never had been an editor. So I learned, how it works. We had this phenomenal graphic designer that we worked with that taught me about that piece of the production, that obviously I'd never been a part of doing anything like that before, and learned about the submission process and how to get writers in and how to, tell a story through a magazine. And it was really my favorite part of my job. It became my baby, and we did so much work around diversifying this magazine that in the 51 years of its existence had very, very little Black and brown people represented in it. Very few trans people represented in it. And so getting the opportunity to bring that in and watching how the community responded to it was really meaningful for me personally. So when the agency closed and that was no longer my job, the magazine also ended because they were producing the magazine. And so I had a few people ask me why I didn't start my own, and that seemed incredibly out of reach to me because we had the machine and the financial backing of the agency to be able to produce it, because it was costing $7,000 and $8,000 a month to create and produce and edit and print this magazine, and there was no way that I could afford to do that with, especially at the beginning when there's absolutely
no one else,
no one that is advertising yet or buying yet. Like at the beginning is you're literally starting from square one. So for a long time I was like, I don't think it's really feasible. And then finally I got sort of the right people pushing me to try anyway. And we made changes like that's over digital, because that cuts down on production costs of printing. As you build an audience, those things become more within reach. But even still, we're in a digital age now, so people don't pick up written paper things anymore. So making those adjustments, but we did have a hole to fill. There were people that missed that original publication, and there were certainly people that had started to find themselves in that magazine after we made some of those pretty sweeping changes that deserves to still have a home. And it was such a passion project for me. Like I just enjoyed doing it so much, and I enjoyed telling those stories and being able to be a platform for those stories, that I really wanted to see if we could make something that served the same purpose, but this time make it mine. And no matter how much freedom you have in a position, when you're working for other people, there's concessions that you make because of that. And so the idea of being able to do this thing and really, really make it mine felt incredible. It was scary. It felt very scary.
I can imagine.
And I didn't know if it would, if we would do one, and I didn't know there would be more after that. But it was worth it. And like I said, it was scary, but we decided to just give it a shot, and kind of the rest is history.
Great history.
Right.
Okay, so what do you do professionally outside of the magazine?
Okay, so luckily the beginning of that story is the same as the beginning of this story, but I
know the answers to most of this, but this is for you,
right?
Not for me.
So working in that agency, the same kind of work that we did with the magazine was the same kind of work that we did with the agency. I was hired initially to be the director of communications, but it became very, very clear very early that the heart of my work there would be, helping the agency sort of turn a corner. The people that had started the agency were directly out of Stonewall, and had the economic opportunity to be able to move upstate to where we were and start a new life. And it grew on a college campus, and over time had built and became freestanding and a 501c3 and all of the things. But the funding and the originators and the people who conceptualized the idea of the agency were, for the most part, cis. They were largely men and very white. And that was pretty much how, I mean, I think with most structures, honestly, in this country, that's pretty much how it stayed over that incredibly long span of existence. You know, over that 50 years, that never changed much, unfortunately. And so, you know, being a woman of color, all of a sudden sort of thrust in this leadership position, which they had never had before, it gave me this really unique opportunity to be able to make those same kind of changes in the agency, changing staff and how we did things and who we did it for, and programming and what it looked like, and trying to make it reflective of the community, which literally was the most amazing and difficult work that I've ever done. I experienced more racism in that position, and also transphobia and homophobia and whatever in a queer organization, which is the wildest thing that you would never expect. I didn't expect it. But we did it. Like, we made those changes. And unfortunately, that agency didn't outlive the pandemic to be able to really bring those things to fruition in the community in the way that we hoped that they would. But I learned so much during that time. And during the pandemic, when sort of the world was shut down to a large degree, especially up north, we were looking to do that same kind of work. And so I got the opportunity to start working with other organizations and agencies in the city, but also around the country, doing that same kind of, like, 2020 was also the time, like, that the world blew up, right? And people were demanding change and different and wanting to express diversity. And that sounds good, but, like, what are you going to do with it, and how are you really going to build it into the fabric of who you are and the work that you produce, not just, you know, slap a new mission statement up on your website and keep it moving. So I got to start doing that work, and I decided to kind of change everything and restart my life, because we had gone through the Black Lives Matter movement up there and a lot of really heavy stuff and protesting and hardcore full-time activism, and I wanted to refresh and get some space from all of that and figure out what I wanted to do with my life next, and made a major move across the country, which brought me down here.
Yay.
To the ocean where I could regroup, to my happy place, to the ocean where I could regroup. And that's kind of how Blackout Consulting was born, is being able to do the same kind of work that I was doing for the agency for different organizations and businesses around the country. And so when I'm not magazining, I'm usually working either in person or on Zoom with different organizations to do that same kind of, like, change.
Are you doing what you thought you'd be doing when you grew up? And if not, what would you have been doing if childhood you had their way?
So when I was little, I wanted to be a choreographer because I was a dancer. I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I couldn't even tell you now why I wanted. I mean, it was a big word, which I think I probably the type of person I was.
It's the biggest word I
appreciated that it was a really big word and sounded very interesting and exciting, which is so ironic because I'm, like, the least adventurous person on earth. So whoever told me I was going to be Indiana Jones is clearly mistaken. So I can't, to this day, I don't know where that came from. I did, like, history, but how I got to archaeologist, I can't.
Everybody wanted to be an archaeologist when Indiana Jones was out.
So I don't know, but what I will say is that I always did have this kind of personality, like fighting for things and fighting against things. Like I went to this very traditional Catholic high school that hated me because I was always staging, like, protests and walk-ins and sit-ins and walkouts and whatever. So yes, I probably always was going to be this person. I didn't know necessarily, but one of my first loves was writing. And I always was afraid to be a writer professionally because I didn't want to not love it anymore because it was a job. So being the editor of a magazine is very, very full circle in that way, that, you know, those childhood, like, my very first love of anything was writing. And so, yeah, I guess kind of I am.
Okay. Well, that's good. Childhood you is a happy person.
Childhood me is a happy person.
Okay. Now, what is the first thought you have every morning and the last thought before you go to sleep?
So I'm the type of person, and I'm saying that, like, there's other people like this, but there probably isn't. It's probably literally just me. But I'm the type of person, thanks to my type A personality and strong Virgo character, that I sometimes will already start thinking of like the million things that I need to do during the day before my eyes even open. Like the second that I reach conscious thought, I'm already like running down a list. So I'm really working hard to stop doing that and to just like take it easy first thing in the morning and not rush to jump out of bed or start going through all the things of my day. So like whether it's like going through like my gratitude things or positive affirmations or even just like breathing and not moving, or even, and they tell you not to do this, but for me it's an improvement over like obsessing about the day, like going on TikTok or Facebook to just kind of scroll and chill. It still slows me down, so I'm not like ching, to go do things. And so first thought of the day, I try to be as like mindless as possible, like either working on my consciousness or like nothing of importance, just like chill mode until I actually stand up and wash my face
and start to function. Okay.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah, and we're back. We moved it up.
Yes. We just have to wiggle a lot. And before I go to sleep, I have to say that I do a lot of my most serious thinking, I think, late at night, like my personal stuff. I think during the day, I do a lot of like business work things and running around behind two kids and, you know, getting in meetings and in and out and whatever, taking care of the dogs and whatever. I'm like always moving during the day. So I think that the nighttime is a time that is much more about like my inner thoughts and things. So there are a lot of like what ifs and I wish I would have and questioning decisions that I've made and whatever, and missing people that are no longer a part of my life, and all that stuff usually hits me late at night. And I also have a terrible habit of scrolling on TikTok right before I go to sleep and watching all kinds of like random things that make me cry, like people whose pets have passed away, or reunions from like soldiers that have come home or whatever. I do a lot of that late at night, but I think, like I said, I think it's because I like allow myself the time to like get in my feelings at that point of the night. So like there's like a lot of feelings happening right before bedtime.
Okay, but sometimes that's good.
Yeah, I mean it's a release.
Yeah.
So at least it's not my stuff I'm crying over. I'm crying over random
True
people's
story.
TikToks, so I guess that counts for something.
Okay. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be? Would it be for work or pleasure, and why?
Like physical place or like place of life?
Physical place.
Physical place. So my dream trip that I have still not taken is to Paris. So although I'm actually really loving like life right now, like I'm really happy in St. Petersburg. Like we live in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah, and it's the best place ever.
It's just beautiful here, and it's not the Florida that you hear about in the news.
Yeah, Florida man is elsewhere. He ain't here.
Florida's man is elsewhere. And DeSantis doesn't really have as much of a stronghold here as a lot of places.
Right.
So, and it's just it's just literally the most beautiful place you ever saw. Like outside of being in the islands, it's just beautiful here. So I'm pretty happy where I am right now, especially coming from a semi-gray and gloomy upstate New York that snows a lot and whatever.
Right.
Like the sunshine and the palm trees. I don't know if you can see the palm trees behind me. Like that makes
You're back there.
Very much makes me happy. So I'm pretty happy in this location right now. But I've had this dream of going to Paris with the picture, with the Eiffel Tower behind me, and the big red dress, like blowing in the wind, like that is my dream. Like even if I just get off the plane and do that shoot and get back on the plane,
It's totally happening.
like that is my dream trip.
So not this birthday, but next birthday. That's the plan.
I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it because
you heard it first here.
I was planning on going for my birthday 2020, and the pandemic hit and the world shut down. So that is my dream trip and like an experience, like that's my bucket list. Like anything else to do after that, there's a lot of places I want to see. I love to travel, but like that's my bucket list thing.
It's
so
happening.
I can be anywhere.
It's happening. I'm making this happen. It's on tape now. We have
It's official.
documentation next year.
And September, my birthday is Paris
It's the
is
best
beautiful.
time. It's gorgeous in September.
It's just made for me.
That's normally when my tours end. It's right around that time. So
Yeah.
yes, it's gorgeous.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice. I could be anywhere.
Okay. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be and why?
It's funny. Therapy. Therapy is an amazing thing.
It is amazing. It's good. Everyone needs it.
Absolutely. Even if you don't think you need it, you
You
probably need
need,
it more.
you need it the most.
Yes.
If you don't think
Swear
you
to
need
God.
it, you need it
Swear
the
to
most.
God. I have realized that a large first of all, I think we all know that all the things you go through in your journey make you the person you are. And hopefully you love the person you are no matter what path it took you to get there. So I love my life right now. Like, I really am like a happier person than I've probably ever been. And I love being a mom, and I adore my boys, and I love the work that I'm doing. And it's so, it means so much to me. But with that being said, I have really recently realized during therapy that, like, I'm actually kind of grieving the person I may have been without so many of the early childhood trauma experiences that I had that very much forms who you are as a person, as an adult. And so I don't have like a specific thing that I would change in that regard, but I would really love to have met that person.
The person before
all the things, before all the things that were kind of hands to you. Like, I feel like you develop in a different way without that. Like, I look at people that didn't necessarily have all that early angst and things happening to them, and wonder what kind of, if that person would be like a happier person or a lighter person or whatever. Luckily for me, I love where I am right now, but it's definitely been a journey. And so if I could change anything, I think it would be able to at least see what that person would have been like.
Okay, I feel that. I'm actually here with you on that one.
Right?
Yeah,
that's deep. Like, it's like, that was like a deep therapeutic landing. It was wow.
That was the example of what therapy can do for you.
Swear to God. Get you a good therapist.
Yeah, for real. Okay. What's the most intimate fact about yourself that you're willing to share with our readers?
It's funny. So, full disclosure, this is the second time we've done this interview. So
don't ask what happened the first time. We was poolside and everything. We were so cute.
It was so dope.
But
life. So the first time I answered that question, I feel like I kind of gave the answer that I gave to the last question. Mm-hmm. So now I feel like I need to find a different one for that question. Probably that my Venus is in Scorpio. I know. So I don't know if you know any Scorpios. I know you know Scorpios.
Lord help me with the Scorpios.
But there is a, I'm trying to figure out the most diplomatic way to say this. There is a sort of deep, darker side to, at least on the Scorpios that I've known.
All the Scorpios. All of them.
That
I'm talking to you.
Yes, you do. There's just some sort of, I don't know, it's almost like tangible. That's why I'm going like this, but like there's just some sort of, like, angst doesn't cut it. Like, there's just some sort of darker side, I feel like, to Scorpio energy. And, I guess not in a bad way. Like, if you're like a healthy, self-actualized Scorpio, maybe that doesn't like harm people, but it can. But that's where my Venus sign is, and so I feel like that explains a lot of my life and relationships. so that is it. And I'll let you draw from that whatever you like. But that is probably the deepest unknown fact about me
that she's willing to share.
It's pretty intimate to share.
Okay. Where do you see Blackout Magazine in 3 more years? Because this is our 3rd anniversary. And where do you see yourself in 3 more years?
Honestly, like I said a few minutes ago, like, I didn't know what this was gonna be, and especially around like year and a half, I really was questioning whether it was worth it or not. Because I mean, like, when I spent hours and hours and hours on this magazine, because I do like all the
everything,
editing and production and graphic design and whatever myself. So I put hours into this magazine, and a lot of times, working with people that you can't pay fabulous wages. You have to work on other people's schedules and wait for them to have time because, everybody has a life and a job. And
life be lifing.
Besides the magazine, that means we do like a lot of last minute stuff, and there's a lot of like overnights and whatever. So a year and a half ago, I was like, I don't even know if this is worth it anymore. I don't know how much farther we're going to go. And then all of a sudden, 2023, just really feel like it started opening up doors for us. Like the magazine feels different now. I feel like my skills have gotten stronger. I feel like the look is better. I feel like the quality of the team of writers we have right now is so incredible. And then no shade, like Immani, like the best thing about the magazine is anybody can participate. Like it's about having a voice and a platform. But we also have people like Immani who are like professional writers that are now on the team that I feel like just elevate us to another level. And I just feel like we're in such an incredible place. And then we've gotten some grant opportunities this year so we can start paying folks better and all of those things. So like if you would have asked me that question last year, it probably would have been a very different answer. Okay. Because I don't know if I would have been able to confidently say that I felt like the magazine was gonna like be here in another 3 years. Right now, I feel like we're really on the precipice of something.
It's coming.
And I have took my hands off of it and kind of just gave it to the universe that it's going to grow in whatever amazing ways, but I feel it. Like I can feel it coming, that it's just going to get better and better. And so I'm so excited to see where we are in 3 years because I have a feeling that it will be someplace bigger than I could ever even imagine because stuff just keeps happening. And the people that are getting involved, and the people that are taking interest, and the people that are picking up the pages, and whatever, like, it's just dope. So I'm super excited to see wherever we land in 3 years. But I have a feeling it's going to be more than my wildest expectations, honestly. Myself, I love what I'm doing, and so I would just love to be able to do it more and bigger. A lot of my years prior to doing the DEI work, I was doing PR. So I love doing media, and I love doing teaching and educating, and I love sitting on panels and talking to people about intersectionality in our community and the work that we do. So I was doing a ton of that in New York. I'm finally starting to do a lot more of it down here in Florida because the environment is weird down here, so that gets weird. But I'm starting to be able to do more of that down here, and I would love to be able to see that branch nationwide to do a lot more like national stuff opposed to just local to wherever I am. And then as far as like in terms of the magazine, I would love to see the magazine eventually get picked up by a major publisher so that it really can reach audiences far and wide. I love where we are because it allows so much accessibility to everyone, but I just feel like with a machine behind it, there's just so much potential to get to so many more people that have the opportunity to see themselves in the magazine. So that is where I would love to see it be.
I see it coming. So, bonus question. Since this is our 3-year anniversary, of the 3 years of publications, which one was your favorite and why?
Ooh, it's so funny because like I'll finish them. There's some where I'm like, not as strong. There are here and there. Like there's just months that everybody's super busy, and so you know that like you don't get as much content as you would love and whatever. But for the most part, we'll finish an issue and I'll be like, that was good. and it's so funny because I read back what I write, and like we have like a chat with all the writers and photographers and things. And I read back and I'm like, every month I'm like, this was a really good one. Like, like I didn't just say the same thing last month. But my favorite. Ooh, that's hard.
I know.
I tend to think about my favorite covers.
Okay.
More so than I think of my favorite issues.
Okay.
But I actually really loved the issue that we did where people wrote back to their 15-year-old selves.
That is my favorite.
I just think it was so incredibly powerful because our writers have such amazing stories. Like the idea of it was dope because I think that we're at a time in history where LGBTQ youth are struggling so profoundly because of just the climate of things and politics and medical access and stuff. So I love the idea of being able to like offer a light for kids who may not have one elsewhere. But I think what ended up being the most powerful thing about it was our writers just allow the readers, and I recently did an interview with E.L. Winston, and said this specifically about him, that our writers just let people into their lives and their experiences in a way that I just find profound every time I read it. And there's a lot of times where I get articles in, and I'm like in tears reading them because they're just so emotional and profound and deep and personal.
Yep.
And that issue for me represented everybody in that way. Like, you just got pieces of people, like our writers shared pieces of themselves, and you really reading them, it made you understand so much more. Like, I know these people, but like it just made me understand everybody on an even deeper level. And I just thought it was so incredible. Like, I just thought the articles in that month, which was very recently, were just so incredible because they just were so special. It just was, that issue was just really, really special.
Yeah, I was asked what was my favorite article of the last 3 years, and I was like, I can't choose one. And I was like, but if I had to choose a concept, it was that.
No, it was amazing. And I want to say, did Ronnie think of that concept maybe? I don't know. That's the other thing that's really nice about the magazine is I try to keep it as cooperative as possible so everybody feels like they can, make suggestions, whatever. And I love them because my stuff gets old and stale or whatever. So like other people's ideas keep bringing it to life. So like that was just a great one. I really loved that one. I really loved that one.
Winner. Okay, last question. What do you want our readers to know? Anything you want to share?
The magazine. So I think that people sometimes read something like a magazine and feel like it's not something that they could be a part of. I know I would have probably felt that way looking at it. But it doesn't, like, I've had writers that we have now that have been writing forever for us, that our first conversation, they were telling me how they're not really a writer, and like they were scared to submit anything, and they didn't know what to say, and they were concerned about their writing skills, and they're now some of the strongest contributors on the team. So the reason why we started Blackout was really to be a stage. To be a stage, to provide a platform, to be able to give people like us who don't often have a voice places, a voice someplace. Right. And so I guess what I would most want people to know is that your story is so valuable, and the work you do, the business you have, the initiative you started, the organization you run is important, and it's not just important to the people you directly touch, it could be like important to the world. And that's what Blackout is getting those stories out. And we don't charge you, like a lot of places, if you write a story about something, they make you pay them. Like, that's not who or what we are. We really just want to be able to be a platform for you to be able to share your work and your stuff and your experiences and
in an uncensored way.
Absolutely. The most I'm gonna do is like capitalize or like fix a clerical error. Like I don't change anything because I don't feel like that's my place to do.
And I have said to her on many occasions, hey, I'm an erotic poet. I want to submit this piece. You can censor it. And she's like, yeah, I'm totally not going to censor
Absolutely
it. But
not.
go ahead.
Absolutely not. I just think it's so important. Like, we're censored in so many ways.
True story.
And like emotionally, professionally, all of the things that's not what Blackout is for. Like, Blackout is to give people a voice. And so if you have a story to tell, please reach out to us and let us tell that story. And if you're not comfortable writing it, we have a whole team of amazing writers who are always looking for ideas that they don't have to come up with on their own. And so they get so excited about being able to interview people and meet different people. And most of the writers also like run organizations or like really deeply invested in part of organizations. So being able to create that networking opportunity, just learn more about what other of us are doing around the country and around the world is like super incredibly dope, and we all really enjoy it. So if you see yourself in Blackout, you could see yourself in Blackout. All you gotta do is take the opportunity to reach out. So we're at year 3 and counting. And the more voices that we have included and the more people we have as part of that family as it grows, and it really does feel like a family. It really does.
It is a family.
The better it gets, the stronger it gets. So I guess the one thing I would want people to know is that, you could be on the side of the camera too.
And that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tamara. Tam, that's Tam, okay? It's just Tam. My name is Immani Love. Thank you so much for tuning in to Blackout Magazine Interview Edition. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank
Peace.
you. Happy